think the only way we're going to do better is if he gets out and somebody else gets in.
I mean, they'll find a reason to impeach me. I'll get impeached.
I just want to say I'm sorry. I voted for him and I thought he was going to help folks like me. Now, they didn't cut off my food stamps, my Medicaid, everything. I don't know how I'm going to eat or pay for my medicine. I made a mistake.
Trump trumpeters, are they really trumping right now? Everywhere is quiet and so to say for the MAGA people, even though they are trying to always present a front, the question remains, is he winning the war against Iraq? Is he Iran rather? Is he winning the war? Unlike what has been portrayed and keep pushing by the media, this war has cost American paced dollars massive millions of dollars. A war that should never have begun in the first place, a war that was undeserving. And we see in the couple of videos that we're about to share and the ones that we just mentioned, he's calling out to the black community to back up. And like I've said in my previous meeting, the black community saw this coming all along, and that was why the black community was backing Columbus Rice. But you know, the sentiment that many Latinos and minority groups and rural white folks, you know, shared in supporting Trump seems not to be paying off. Many MAGA people are, you know, changing their loyalty. I even had a couple of videos where some MAGA people were, you know, taking off their caps and saying they were disappointed because he had taken away their food stamps. He has taken away the provisions, rights, privileges. Even the veterans who fought on behalf of the nations are not spared in this crazy, you know, move by this administration. And yet you're taking taxpayers' money and spending it on frivolity. Is he really winning the war on Iran is the question, or is he just looking for ways to, you know, navigate? Because there's something that we call the Trojan horse in military or political science. You look for a diversion while you ignore the real issue at hand. And as far as I'm concerned, the Iran war is a Trojan horse that is diverting the attentions of true Americans from the realities of things on ground. So if you're coming across my YouTube channel, please give me a thumbs up, you know, subscribe to the YouTube channel. So let's dive right, guys, into the new videos we have.
Breaking news. I couldn't wait to share this story with you. Donald Trump is calling on a black woman to help him get out of the mess he's created in Iran. That's right. Donald Trump, the man who has attacked every black person with expertise in his administration, who's taken rank away from black generals, saying they only achieved their rank by DEI. The same man who took black history books from the military libraries. Well, today, a CNN reporter saw Condoleezza Rice quietly entering the White House. If you're not old enough to remember, Condoleezza Rice was the national security advisor during the period of 9/11, the Iraq War, under George W. Bush. Now, she's not a Fox News host. She's not a social media influencer like most of the people in Trump's cabinet. She happens to have a PhD in political science and is considered a brilliant person when it comes to the understanding of foreign affairs and geopolitics. You know, so all of Trump's influencers are not very helpful in this situation. So it turns out that he needed to connect to a black person with expertise, which just seemed to me the ultimate irony for all he's done to try to discredit people. And for those of you who might be stumbling on this video, who think the war is going well in Iran, please take a look at another video I posted today. Colin Powell's chief of staff gives an eye-opening assessment of what the mainstream media or any media in the United States is not telling us. I think you'll be surprised. That's the video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.
Guess who was just pictured walking into the White House? You won't believe this. Condoleezza Rice, George W. Bush's national security advisor during the 2003 Iraq War. Now, this is a big deal because the Trump administration is trying to put on this brave face that, oh, everything's great. We don't care that Russia's helping Iran target us. You know, we don't care about the billions of dollars of irreplaceable radars, having lost 4 and we only have 10 in the world. on and on and on. The global economic catastrophe that's just hanging over our heads any second to drop. And they're bringing in someone well. They're worried. They're concerned. Don't listen to the ego and the bravado that comes out of their mouths. Just look at the facts on the ground.
They're taking black jobs.
Did Trump say the black jobs? They taking the black, who is they? They. Can I get an application? I need to get hired on with the black jobs. How much they paying for the black jobs? I never heard of them. Nobody, y'all black people ain't told nobody about the black jobs. Man, God, what's wrong with y'all, black people? There are black jobs out there that they taking. The black jobs. Let me know. Hello, anybody know where the black jobs are? Hello, the black jobs.
That the illegal immigrants or the immigrants were doing in the fields. I can tell you, Mr. President, that is not fucking happening. We are not going back in the field. You could get that out your mind. You and all your Republican buddies, it's not happening. So you need to come up with a better solution for your shortage of staff. You can't pay us enough. We've been there. We've done that. Not happening. You need to figure out how to work out a path to citizenship for all these hardworking immigrants that do want to work in this country. Because there are lots of people that comes into this country that honestly want to work. Not all immigrants that's here, whether they're here legal or illegally, want to commit crime or do commit crime. Statistically proven, you have more homegrown assault on this country than anything else. Mass shooting for one. You understand? So you need to figure out something. But black people, we're not the solution to that. We're not going back. And I believe if for some reason that was ever attempted, you're going to have a fight on your hands. Let me know what y'all think in the comments, man.
Literally, bro, like, I didn't even think he was gonna be this bad, you know. I didn't think he was gonna just deport innocent people, dude. Like, literally, he said he was only gonna go after gang members and, you know, dangerous criminals. How did my parents get here? They crossed the border. What's a tariff? A tariff is like kind of like a tax, but like we don't pay for that. Don't worry, China's gonna pay for that, and Mexico, not me though, not me. Yes, I did see that the stock market was crashing, dude, but you have to understand, like, dude, literally, it gets worse before it gets better, I promise. Like, it gets worse before it gets better. Yeah, you know, I graduated and I wanted to work for the government, dude, but I don't know, like, they took away my offer because Trump's, like, Doge cuts and stuff and Elon Musk, you know, but it's okay. Maybe I'm not meant to work in the government, you know. Maybe I'll be, you know.
Two fronts, being in the Afghan war and the Iraq war, especially recently with Trump's statements towards Cuba. The Trump administration obviously doesn't know what they're doing, and they don't have a long-term strategy for Iran. It also means that as Americans, we could probably prepare to go into Iran, since they are calling in literally the only person that could give them guidance on a long-term war. Are you scared yet? I am.
Because ultimately she's there like Omarosa would be there. What exactly is she being brought in to, you know, provide advisement on? It'll be interesting to see how other political commentators comment on her inclusion in the conversations right now. I think it'll also be interesting to hear her perspective, how she viewed either her experience or just, you know, her thoughts, because I remember how problematic she was and really just continues to be, you know. So I have been looking at kind of diverse perspectives, specifically from Black women on Condoleezza Rice at this point, because I think it's pretty interesting to see how Black women are, you know, kind of cheering her inclusion on. Like it seems like in the comment section and people who are posting videos, you know, that they're excited that she's there. They're saying things like, you know, Black women to the rescue. Black women always has to come in and save the day. You know, Condoleezza Rice has so many accomplishments, you know, and things like that. But I'm like, what is it that y'all think that she is going to do as it relates to saving something? Like, what is the context that you're putting out there about what it is that she, like, what her role is? And I just hope that we are able to, as Black women, have more of a critical lens around Black women in politics specifically, and also really deconstructing what inclusion and representation, what that means, and like when and how that's activated.
Hey, Condi. Yeah, Condoleezza. Why are you going to the White House? What are you doing? Is it a fundraiser? Are you there to smell his farts? What's the deal, girl? Why are you there? The architect of the Iraq War. What's going on, girl? You going scorched earth? Well, we're about to. We are so about to. $2 billion worth of military assets lost in 3 or 4 days. That's pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. Y'all were not prepared for this because your ego got in the way. Because poor planning is how you plan. You don't actually look at all options.
So Trump was in the Oval Office, discussing how he's headed to Chicago next to deploy the military to help fight crimes. Now, hearing him say that African American women are screaming for him to come fight crime in Chicago, I don't understand why this man just lies, because 92% of Black women voted for Kamala. And why would a Black woman would be screaming for him to help do anything? Does he not know that 92% of Black women voted for Kamala? Y'all need to let y'all president know, because obviously he doesn't know.
Policies. Here it is.
If they let in hundreds or thousands of people who already have criminal records, if deporting them creates a mass deportation, I'm all for it.
But what if rounded up in all of that are people who work on a farm? They're doing the jobs that Americans don't want to do. Does that worry you?
That wouldn't be fair. Of course, they need to make sure that they don't throw away, they don't kick out, they don't deport people that are family oriented.
Oh, okay. This is what the family told MSNBC.
Mario and Mireya both crossed the border illegally as teenagers, but became citizens under President Ronald Reagan's amnesty. They see themselves as different from migrants crossing the border today. In what way do you think they're different?
The people that are coming here are the criminals, the ones that did something bad in their country. They're running away from their law.
Despite having close family members who are undocumented,
Migrant invasion.
they don't believe they'll end up in Trump's crosshairs. When you hear Trump promise mass deportations, do you worry about them?
Yes and no, because the ones that I know, they're doing good.
Is a conservative. She's pro-life. She voted for Trump, but she's regretting her decision because now she's pregnant with her third child. She's older, and there might be some complications where the child might not make it. And her doctor's saying, hey, you may need to go out of state to get a late-term abortion, right? So she's going through a panic. And she calls her husband to tell her what the doctor says. And her husband said, no, that's just a liberal doctor. Don't worry about it. First off, to that woman who's in this situation, I'm sorry. I hope the worst case scenario does not happen. I hope you have a healthy baby with no complications. I would never want anything to happen to you and your child. Never. I don't understand this need to listen to your husband over a medical professional. I don't get it. That's why a lot of us don't mess around with religion. That's why a lot of us don't play around with conservative men. Because I would want a husband, because everybody's like liberal husbands are, my liberal husband would immediately go, what state? How much money we need to gather? Let's find a doctor. Here's a directory. That is the type of partner you want. The problem with conservative men is that they think they know everything and they think they own their wives, even at the detriment of their wives. I don't understand, ma'am, how you could listen to a man that's not a doctor and politicians. about your health care versus your doctor. And we have been telling y'all for so long, this narrative that they are pushing about late-term abortions, wrong. It's wrong. It's only if there's something wrong with the baby. It's not just for the fun of it. Because if that were the case, then that would just be murder. Trump, Greg Abbott, your husband, they are not going to help you if things ever really took a turning point. So please, think of yourself, think of your child, protect yourself, protect your child, and you make arrangements despite them.
I regret voting for Trump. You guys told me I would, and here we are, just barely over a month after he was sworn in, and I have so many reasons, so many disappointments, and I've lost so many rights as a woman already. So I guess I'll just start listing the reasons why. So many rights gone as a woman. Starting with did I lose rights? I thought I did. See, I was told so many times by the left that I lost all of my rights because I'm a woman, so I thought for sure I did, but now that I'm trying to come up with a list, it's just not coming to the tip of my tongue here. I don't know. Maybe we'll try again after I do some research.
I regret voting for Donald Trump. No, I'm just messing with y'all. I don't actually regret my vote. I do still think that he was a better option than Kamala Harris. But with that being said, I do just want to say that I do believe that he was going to be voted into office regardless of whether I voted for him or not. The more that I see things unfold, and yes, I was gone for 3 months, but I was still, paying attention to the world and following things that were happening. I do genuinely believe that he was going to be enacted into office in order for certain biblical prophecies to be fulfilled. No, I do not believe that he is the Antichrist, but I do believe that him being in power and certain events happening currently in the world, or that have happened in the last 3 or so months, or just ever since he has been into the presidential office, I do believe that those are biblical prophecies that are being fulfilled in front of our eyes, and that we need to be watching out for, and that we need to be very aware, and that we need to be very discerning. Like I said, I do not regret my vote for him because there are things that he's doing, that his cabinet is doing, that I do like and that I am in support of. But there's a lot of things that I look at and I'm like, you don't gotta be doing all this. I don't think that the Trump that we voted for is the same Trump now, or maybe not necessarily that. Let me rephrase. I do think that there was some deception, and I will be first to admit that some Christians, especially as me, we did fall for the deception. Again, he did fulfill his promise, or he did keep his promises when it comes to illegal immigration, like all the things that he was trying to do. But I am concerned with some of the things that he's currently doing. And I've always been very open in the fact that I don't like him. I don't like his personality. I don't like how he talks to people and about people. But I was always, like I always have said, I did and I do still think that he was a better option than Kamala Harris. That does not make me regret my vote, but it does throughout my 3 months being off TikTok and kind of leaving that echo chamber. I have realized the left wing, the right wing, they're all a part of the same bird. It's just controlled by the same people. Neither the liberals are better nor the conservatives are better. So at this point, like, enough with the labels. I am not a conservative. I'm a follower of Christ. Yes, my values and my opinions and morals and beliefs do more closely align with the conservative values. However, I have decided to no longer apply this label to me that I'm a Christian conservative. I am just a follower of Christ. I'm a daughter of the Most High King. Because as Christians, the only thing that we can do is pray. Prayer is powerful. The only thing that we can do is pray for the people in power, that they will make the right choices and lead us. But at the same time, I have realized that our world is just going downhill. All these biblical prophecies are unfolding right in front of our eyes. And some of y'all are blind to see it, or just don't have the discernment to see it, or you don't want to admit that that is what we're seeing, which I don't necessarily blame you for. It takes a certain spirit of discernment to see these things that are happening in the world and to say, yes, God warned us about this and we need to be watchful about them. There's a few things that come to mind. I'm not going to go super in depth about all of them, but for example, the peace treaty being signed in the Middle East, Trump receiving an award and being called the Prince of Peace. Again, there's things that I like that he was doing, like with immigration and stuff, but there are certain limits that are being crossed. And again, I do not regret my vote, but I am being more aware of the fact that regardless of who I voted for, this was going to unfold. The Bible warned us about this, and I'm not trying to fearmonger, but there are things happening right now, and there are going to be things happening in the near and distant future that are specifically outlined in the Bible. And then we're not to be scared of them, but we are to continue to do what we're supposed to do, to preach, to spread the gospel, to reach other people, to show them Christ's love and his sacrifice for us, because that is how we reach. That is why I'm no longer interested in doing these lives and apologetics, because I realize and I understand now that people don't come into my lives because they're genuinely interested in learning a different perspective. People come for the debate. Let me get a gotcha moment. Let me clip this because people will think that I'm smart or whatever. People don't always have a genuine desire to know Christ. And
Ooh. Who's that lady, y'all? Y'all know who that lady is? I know some of you old heads know who that is, but you young heads, that's Condoleezza Rice with Trump. They didn't call in Condoleezza Rice, y'all, into this situation. They got themselves in a little situation. And they done looked around the White House and they realized there's not one competent person in that White House. And they know they're in a situation with this whole Iran thing. So that was a mayday call. They called in Condoleezza Rice from the Bush administration, an extremely competent, extremely intelligent black lady. I'm glad they called in some competence, but I'm afraid it was a mayday call. So I'm afraid by this. Why did they have to call in Condoleezza Rice? I mean, we all know there's not one competent person in that White House. So I'm glad that they know that they needed somebody with some brains in there. But I'm also afraid that this was a mayday call. Condoleezza Rice was seen at the White House at the end of last week, y'all, because of this Iran situation. They know they're in some trouble. They might be trying to project some damn confidence in front of our faces, but there's a reason why they called in Condoleezza Rice. Watch this space.
This particular administration has been known to always talk tough, act tough, so to say, but don't, have a good comprehension on situations on ground. And Donald Trump has been known for someone who makes a very elaborate and outrageous promises that he cannot maintain. You can imagine the U.S. assets, U.S. government losing over 10 billion US dollars of military equipment in 4 days in a war that had no business with American citizens. Lives of military personnel have been laid on the line for an unprovoked, unsolicited attack. And now there's so much noise about him calling on the black women of Chicago, calling for him to come and fight insecurity in Chicago. I don't know where these informations are coming on, because the Trump government thrives on propaganda, and that is one thing that it has done, and it has done very well. And I don't know where that referendum or that moment of understanding was reached between Trump and the black community, especially the black women. Now all of a sudden they're seeing condolence rights in the White House, and she's coming there. Those of us who grew up back in the days, we know she served on the Bush administration, especially during the September 11 and Iraq War invasion, and we all know what happened. Now, obviously, I'm just speculating that it's possibly she's been brought in to manage the crisis. This is the same administration that has fought black people, fought black women, stripped generals of their ranks, and telling them that they did not deserve, they didn't end it, is now calling on Condoleezza Rice possibly to help manage the situation or the crisis, to resolve it, because obviously it is quite glaring that the mainstream media is not telling the truth. And these were the things that the black community saw all along and began to sound their sirens. But guess what? Many of the other minority groups and the white folks and the white community, not all, turn the deaf and the blind eyes, and now it is becoming glaring to everyone that this man is not what he says he is, and this government is not what he portrays himself to be. And guess what? The black community has chosen to take a stand, and that stand is to be indifferent and fold their hands and allow those people who brought this man into power to reap the fruit of their labor. You see, you guys need to let the black community alone. You need to leave the black community alone, because they were warning you guys, but for whatever reason it is, you guys chose to put him in. The roadmap to this crisis began in his first term, and now it is glaring to all to see. So this is not to stir up hate, but this is just for educational purposes. If you're coming across my YouTube channel, you're welcome. Come on, give your boy a thumbs up, hit the subscription button just to subscribe and to encourage